Hi everyone, Matthew here. So this is my second screencast, and what I'd like to do is just sort of briefly speak about chapters 1 through 3 of the Collins and Halverson book here, and kind of summarize a few points and touch on some of the things that I thought worthy of bringing to your attention. Then I'd like to share with you some ideas or options that you have for sharing out the information that you're gathering for the first project that we have going on. So I've got a couple of examples that you might find interesting or entertaining, and if you want to use them to share out what you've learned, that's fine. If not, no problem. So first, I just would like to talk about Chapter 1 of the Collins and Halverson book. This chapter is really about how education is being taken out of schools and into homes, libraries, internet cafes, workplaces, where students can decide what they want to learn and when they want to learn and how they want to learn. This is a direct quote from the very first chapter, and I think it does a great job of really just summing up how the world of learning is changing. They go on to say these learning niches use technologies to enable people of all ages to pursue learning on their own terms. Except at the same time, what's happening, they point out, is that as choices have widened as far as our options for learning are concerned through technology, constriction on schools have really increased in the form of very prescriptive standards that schools need to be accountable for. So later on in Chapter 1, we're introduced to one of the first contradictions that is submitted to us, that there's possibly something contradictory about the knowledge revolution that's happening and school as it's always been done. Another thing the chapter brings up is a question of access and equity, and that these new technologies may well serve to reinforce the widening economic gap. So this is definitely something that I've noticed in my own school. We have a 60% or greater free and reduced lunch count. And so one of the questions I ask myself and I speak about with the staff is, how can we prepare our students to compete for jobs against students whose families were able to afford these media devices? The students, these young people are using them in their personal lives. They're learning how to be facile with them, so that when they get on to higher education or out into the workplace, they already have a lot of the skills, many of the skills that workplaces are looking for, as far as accessing information, just operational knowledge. Additionally, we see that both Joe and Donna have had some first-hand experiences with students who really are who would flourish from the kinds of learning opportunities discussed in the Collins and Halverson text, who are kind of pushing back or are in need of a different way of learning. Donna's post particularly made me wonder how individual educators could work to provide the kinds of learning experiences our students today need when the institution within which we are situated does not necessarily make it easy for students to access alternatives, even though these alternatives have been pursued to a degree already. So Joe and Donna had had this exchange, and Joe added two scenarios, and they sound like scenarios that Joe has gathered firsthand from his work, and Donna's scenario as well sounds like it's directly from her work at school. So we as educators are really already kind of seeing um, that school is not working for everybody, and so one of my biggest concerns and questions is how do we challenge the status quo within the school, but I guess more importantly, how do we give young people what they need in order to learn, um, especially when even often parents and society itself pushes back against us because we're suggesting a change in the schooling that they themselves experienced and or are used to. So chapter 2 is a chapter, it's the technology enthusiast argument. The authors point out how our world and learners are changing. What are they changing? They're changing their thinking, their capabilities. They're changing when they learn. There's this idea of just-in-time learning versus just-in-case learning. Our desire for customization, learner control, interaction. I don't know if you remember, but Ramey posted a Facebook song. I think it was week 0. It is a fantastic comment on the level of interaction that people today expect. So if you didn't watch that, go back to week 0 and revisit the Facebook song. It's an entry point, I believe. Scaffolding, games and simulations, multimedia, and publication. So I'd like to just talk about 2 of these items. The first is how adding computers to schools won't really have the kind of impact we would like it to have unless practices change. So Cuban touched on this when he discussed the two of the major reasons that the technology of the radio and the television did not have the impact that was hoped it would have on schools. And so the 2 major reasons are lack of input on behalf of the educators to decide what technologies were brought into the schools, but also, and I think more importantly, lack of training. That once these technologies were purchased, teachers are doing all that they can to kind of survive the day. And of course, we want to move beyond this idea of survival to become effective, but even the most experienced of teachers know that, I don't want to say you can't let down your guard, but we know that it takes extensive planning, and you kind of always have to be on the ball. And so to use a technology that you might not be comfortable with I think often will make teachers feel vulnerable, and this has really stood in the way of teachers adopting technology. So one of the things that I've included as an entry point for week 5 is the SAMR model. Now, I'm not sure if any of you have heard of the SAMR model before, but the SAMR model, it's one of the entry points again, and the SAMR model essentially is it's a model of using technology, and it's sort of a scale, and it moves from substitution to redefinition. Basically, Ruben Puentedura went and he studied the way that businesses use technologies, and he found that the businesses that use technology only as a substitute for the analog task did not do as well as businesses that really redefined the way that they did business through technology, and then that was really applied to education. So the SAMR model is considered by a lot of educational technologists to be a model for technology integration into schools. So the other thing is customization. So this chapter talks a little bit about customization, and how one benefit of technology is that learners can customize their learning. if they learn better through video, they can find videos that help them understand content. So I guess a question I have for you is this: what drawbacks might kind of come along with this change toward greater and greater customization? Also, how do the tools we use begin to use us? The text mentions how, as we use the Google search engine, it also is tracking the choices and the search terms that we make for its own purpose or the purposes of businesses. And so that's an interesting question. Finally, chapter 3 was the technology skeptic's argument. Again, back to, it starts with kind of Cuban's points about how and why technology fails. Also, the following areas were mentioned that stand in the way of technology use in schools: the cost and access, classroom management, the notion of the limitations of computers, challenges to instruction, assessment, and authority in schools. And so I guess I would ask you, all of you work in schools of some kind. Which of these do you think, if we could overcome, would really pave the way for bringing more technology into schools? It's a very interesting question. I spend a lot of my day thinking about how to overcome the resistance or these barriers to technology in schools. So those are just some thoughts and little summary of chapters 1 through 3 of the Collins and the Halverson text. Just 1 second, I'm getting some feedback here. Okay, sorry about that. I had some audio playing from a window on my computer, and I never found out which one it was, but it stopped, so great. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to do was to just present some options for you for sharing what you're learning through the first project. So the first is Go Animate, which is this animation online animation software that you can use. I've got a animation here. I'll play a little bit of it for you just to kind of show you what you can do. So this is just a little stylized animation that I built for a course. It's a fun, engaging animation software, and I think you'd really enjoy using it. So that's Go Animate. Next, there's an application called Animoto, which basically takes text, audio, and even video clips and uses an algorithm to put them together, and it's pretty interesting. Take a look here. This is just a short Animoto of something I built for my mother on Mother's Day, actually. But you can actually make it informational, but it's tough because it really just uses short bursts of text and images. Next, an iMovie or a digital story. You can do a lot with iMovie and digital stories. These are great things and very engaging. This was just a kind of a trailer that I created. But digital stories, videos are a great way of communicating information that you're learning. All right, one other thing that I want to show you, and I'm running out of time here, is a digital magazine. If you're interested in this, let me know. But you can upload PDFs and to a digital magazine, and it's a pretty interesting and somewhat interactive tool for you to use. Okay, I'm out of time. Take care.